Now we're back to learning Photoshop manipulations. Let me show this typical pixel stretch effect. It's surprisingly easy to do, so it's a good manipulation for beginner. You just copy the original, press Ctrl J, and then we use remove background. You can use the same image if you want to. You will find a link in the video description. I think that's a good cutout. We can use it. I've got a white background below. And then I right click right here on the layer mask and use apply layer mask. So now we have only a cutout, no layer mask. We have the original as a backup and a white background. Next up, what we want to use is right here, the single column marquee tool. If you can't find that, just right click on your marquee toolbox right here. And then you simply left click and you want to cover as many pixels of, in our case, this jumping woman. So maybe a little bit more to the left, but right here should be a good position. So we've got the feet, the hair, the full body. And now you press Ctrl J. And this should give you a single column right here on a new layer, which is called layer 2. Once again, rectangular marquee tool, M is the shortkey for it if you can't find it. There's this tool that we need. Next up, we are on this layer 2 and we press Ctrl T to resize it. And here are a couple of things to keep in mind. Let me just confirm. Number one is we don't have to use this blackish at the top. It's usually something that you don't want to have. But if you delete it, you can see I've resized that too much. So we're going to have that at the top and at the bottom once more. Let me resize that a little bit. And now if I reposition that, you can see it. We have it right here on the left, basically creeping in. So if you resize this layer 2, pressing Ctrl T, make sure that you cover it all when you delete it. Easiest way to do that is to simply delete it up front. When you've got it this small, is the marquee tool. As I've said, we don't want to have the black on the outline. And then press the delete key, then Ctrl D to deselect. Now afterwards, press Ctrl T again, and then resize it so that it covers your model. Top and bottom are the most important here. And another thing, when we now go to filter, distort, and use the polar coordinates to create this circle, you can see we need a closed circle. By the way, I use rectangular to polar, the first option. Make sure that's set. It should be by default, but if it isn't, use it. To close the circle, we have to resize it a little bit, make it bigger than our canvas. Again, filter, distort, polar coordinates, and now it's a closed circle. Confirm we are OK. Then bring the original copy, our cutout model, above this circle. We are on the circle layer, layer 2. I press Ctrl T again, and I hold Shift when I resize that. That keeps it a circle. And zoom in a little bit. We want to have pixels ending right here where the hair ends, and at the bottom where the shoe ends. Again, I'll hold Shift when I resize that, even just a little bit, because it keeps the proportions. Confirm right here. You can press Ctrl 0 to zoom out, and now give this layer 2, the circle layer, a layer mask. Make your foreground color black. We are on the layer mask, which is fully white by default. And now we use the brush. Just make sure that you use a hard brush, so hardness 100%. Maybe you have to resize it a little bit. I use 200. And then paint over this on one area, but don't paint over too much. You can see that here at the feet. So we don't want to have that. We want to use the body basically as the border. And it doesn't actually matter what side of the body you now paint over, because now when you're on the layer mask right here for layer 2, you can simply press Ctrl I and it switches from one side to the other. So pick whatever side you like best. I'm gonna go with this one on the left hand side. And that's basically the effects, but we can add 2 more little details. Number one is, let me create an empty layer, layer 3. I use the brush again, but first I press I for the eyedropper tool and I sample one of these brownish colors. I use a soft round brush, so hardness now 0%, and then I paint over this area right here with this brownish color. Right click on layer 3 and create clipping mask. This clips it to the half circle and then change the blending mode to linear dodge add. We can now use opacity to adjust that so that's a little bit of a highlight effect. Around 20 to 30% should be fine here. Let me rename it. This is a highlight. I create a new layer, layer 4. This is for the shadows. So let me rename that to shadow. Click on the color swatch and make it a little bit darker than this brownish that we've used. Again, we use the brush tool, size it down to 100, but hardness is still 0. And then I'll go over the outline of the body. When we've got that done, clip it also. So right click, create clipping mask, and then use the opacity to adjust it. It is supposed to be a little bit of a shadow of our model, and these two little details to help the effect. You can also add maybe a gradient as a background. Then we make that radial, and the scaling is then for making this bigger or smaller. You can click here on the preset, use for example a basic to start with, black to white, and then you simply double click right here on the color swatches and you can sample with the eyedropper tool 2 colors from the original. Let me use this bluish and the pinkish colors. And you can adjust it right here via the center diamond icon. If you want to reposition that, go to the top layer, hold shift, click on the bottom one. So I've got everything selected but the gradient, and then I can reposition that. Again, most important here is to use the single color marquee tool and under filter the distort polar coordinates to create this circle pixel stretch effect. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.